Hello, hi, I am Ramohan. I am working as Head of Electronics and Communications Department, presently placed at Government Polytechnic, Nagar. The subject we are dealing here is that Basic Electrical and Electronics Engineering. This is for the first year students of the Electronics Diploma. The topic is Inductors and Transformers. The subtopic that is for our current session discussion is the relation between the voltage, current and the turns ratio of a transformer. So the objective is, on the completion of this session you would be able to know the relation between the voltage, current and the turns ratio of a transformer. Before that, let us recap or see what all the things we have discussed so far relevant to this little before this. We have discussed in the previous session about the principle of working of a transformer. We have actually derived an EMF equation for the voltage of a transformer. Then let us see the working principle of the transformer. So what is this? So most of you might have come across this, seen many times in your electronics lab or some circuits where while working on some boards or practical kits for fun as well. So this is a step down transformer which is center tapped, and the voltage rating here marked on the transformer is 12012. That means it's a center tap transformers having a current rating of 1.5 amperes. So this is a very common one, and here you can see a yellow clamp fixed over the laminations of the transformer and with some provision to fix it onto the PCB or wherever you have application onto the motherboard. So this is how a practically a physically transformer will look like, which is common for us. Then this is another one. If you can look at it, the physical dimensions are also marked on that. So the voltage rating here is marked as 40 volts, 25 volts and 0. That means it is also a center tap transformer with 40 0 40 and 25 0 25. Sorry, that is 35 volts, and the current rating, if I remember, is 5 amperes for these transformers. And on the corners you can see that yellow color clamp has been fitted to that with screws and nuts firmly onto that. That is to reduce the lamination or core losses, as well as to hold them firmly to avoid some noise because of that. And again, it also gives a provision to fix it onto the main chassis in a circuit or the application wherever we are using it. The physical size, you can see it's almost about 10 centimeter size. That means it's a pretty larger one, and of course that is a step down transformer. So this is the symbolic representation of a transformer. Normally we use this to represent in the circuits for explanation purposes. Then here you can see the principle of the transformer being demonstrated electronically using some animations. You can see a primary coil physically drawn smaller, and a secondary coil on the left side, a larger one, and we can also see a incandescent lamp fitted to the secondary of the windings. This is actually indicating a step up phenomenon. So then also you can see a magnetic needle on the right bottom side, which is actually continuously tickling and the color is changing. That is to indicate that it is north pole and the south pole of the magnetic needle, and it is continuously changing because the AC we are using, which is working at 50 Hz. So So it is that fastly it is trying to change, and it is showing us the variations in that. And this is the circuit symbol of the transformer that we use in all circuit diagrams practically. So here you can see a primary winding. This is actually a shell type of transformer having EI laminations. The primary winding, which is done on the middle arm on the top side, and again you have the secondary winding at the bottom. Then you have a core, then you have the flux lines shown there. They are actually showing two circuits for the flux. One is for the primary in one direction, and the other is for the secondary in the other direction and other arm of the shell. Then you have secondary winding over there. So the voltage VP is the primary, and then it is secondary on the other side. So this is another practically used transformer with same clamps and nuts and bolts, rated at 12 and 5 amperes. And these are different types of cores that are used for the transformers. So the first one is EI core in the shell type of model, and then the next one is the EE core, and the other one is the core type of laminations, which is LL type. So there are two arms. One is for holding the primary winding, the other is for holding the secondary winding. You have another one that is U and I laminations as shown in the figure. So on the two arms of U will be actually fixing or mounting the primary and the secondary on either arm. Then this is a regular normal transformer what we have just now seen, a shell type of model which is having EI laminations, and there is some rating of 17 volts AC. Then you have holes on the laminations corner, so that is used to hold the laminations firmly, and also it also helps or supports for it to get mounted onto the motherboard or the chassis of the device into which where we are going to use this transformer. Then you have another model. You can see this, it is U and U model, so it is similar to that of a UI model. So this is one more model that is practically used, so it comes under UI category. Then this is the core of the transformer, and the first figure almost a square one that is used, that is actually representing a solid core. So here when we use a solid core, the eddy current losses will be very high because there are no laminations, so that amounts to lot many eddy current losses within the core. So to reduce that, actually we use a laminated core. So it's the physical size will be same, but we used a number of laminations to get fixed into that, close the area within the bobbin of the coil. So right side is shown a laminated steel core which is of EI type, that is very commonly used in the industry in the practical scenario. So till now we have discussed in the previous session about the EMF equation of a transformer also. So coming back, if you can recollect, what is the equation for the expression for the EMF in a primary of the transformer winding? Do you remember? When N1 is the number of turns in the primary. So here it is. So it is actually derived as 4.44 into N1 into F into phi m, where F is the frequency, phi m is the flux, and that is a constant we have actually derived in the previous sessions. Then so this is a normal transformer having UI laminations, wherein the primary is on one arm, the secondary is on the other arm. The primary voltage is indicated with VP, then the secondary is denoted as VS. Similarly, current IP and IS respectively, and then the turns ratio are NP and NS. So we have the equation what we have seen earlier in our derivations, that the number of primary turns, that is NP divided by NS, will be equal to VP divided by VS, which is also equal to IS divided by IP, wherein the primary, okay, when the winding turns ratio will be reversed here. So it is NS by NP equal to primary current by secondary current. So this is how they are related, which in fact we have derived in the previous sessions. And from that we have actually seen the voltage transformation ratio, which was derived earlier. So here you can see the animation of a transformer wherein the primary winding is fixed, so the voltage applied to the primary is also fixed. But here you can see that the output is a variable one, and that is varying along with the number of turns that are in the secondary is changing. So here it is understood from the figure and the animation that the secondary number of turns ratio is proportional to the output that is developed at the secondary output terminals. So as we increase the number of turns in the secondary, the voltage also increases in the secondary. So the E1 is the primary voltage, then E2 is the secondary voltage. Again, so this is a symbolic representation of the same transformer: core, primary winding and secondary winding. So that is the primary winding. Then you have the voltage VE1 at the primary turns that is being applied by us, and then you have the core of the magnetic material, which is of magnetic material, that is core, and this is actually closing the magnetic circuit between the primary and the secondary winding. And because the flux is there flowing into the secondary winding, you are getting some EMF developed in the secondary winding. So that winding voltage developed at the secondary is E2. So that is the second voltage we get. And N1 is the turns ratio or number of turns at the primary, then N2 is the turns number of turns in the secondary winding. And we have the voltage transformation ratio from the EMF equation as E1 equal to 4.44 into N1 into F into BM A, where A is the area of cross section. Similarly E2, it is also 4.44 into N2 is the number of turns in the secondary, then frequency is same on both primary and secondary, then flux is also same, core area is also same. Then dividing E2 by E1. So when E2 is divided with E1, so and for the resolving we will be getting 4.44 N2 into F BM by A equal to 4.44 N1 F BM by A. So F BM by A being common, they can be reduced or minimized, and also 4.4. So it remains E2 by E1 equal to N2 by N1, and that is equal to K, where K is called as the transformation ratio, voltage transformation ratio of the transformer, and that's a constant. So the turns ratio of the transformer is constant. It is also called as the transformation ratio or the simply turns ratio of the transformer. Then further, the points to be remembered here is case 1, that is in the equation where what we have derived for the transformation ratio of a voltage in a transformer. So case 1 is if N2 is greater than N1, that means number of turns in the secondary is greater than number of turns in the secondary. That means the constant K or the turns ratio of the transformer is greater than 1. Then it is called as a step up transformer. That means Suppose we apply 230 volts, the output will be definitely higher than 230. It can be 400, 300, 600, whatever you want, as it depends on the turns ratio of the secondary. Then you have another case wherein N2 is smaller than N1. This is a most common scenario actually in our electronics, because we are electronics people. So the use of the transformer is mostly only for step down purpose. So we, because all the electronics will work not higher than 12 volts normally. Nowadays that has still come down. So we have devices working at 5 volts, 3 volts, or even lesser than that. So this is called as a step down transformer. Then you have another case, which is case 3, where N2 is equal to N1 or K is equal to 1. Then it is said to be equal ratio transformer, which is just for isolation purpose. So the voltage will never change in that, so voltage remains constant. So that is the case 3. So that is case 3. And let us have or see an working example on that. So calculate the transformation of a 440 by 220 volt single phase transformer. Now for the solution, given data is E1 is 440 volts and E2 is 220 volts. So K is equal to E2 by E1, that is 220 by 440, so that will be 1 by 20. So that is what we get from that. Similarly, another problem. A single phase transformer has 400 primary turns and 1000 turns in the secondary. Now calculate the transformation ratio of the transformer. Solution. The given data is N1 is 400, then N2 is 1000. So N2 by N1 is equal to 1000 by 400. So the trans ratio of the transformer is 2.5. Then try to build a relation between the voltage, current, and the turns ratio of the transformer. So in the figure we can see the symbolic representation of the transformer or circuit symbolic. So that is a primary winding core, as we have seen, and the voltage of the primary is E1, then the voltage of the current flowing into the E1 or the primary coil is I1, and then you have the core, the primary voltage applied is E1, then you have the secondary voltage and the secondary winding, where the output voltage what you get at the secondary is E2, and simply the current that is flowing into that will be I2. So that is the secondary voltage. Let us see the turns ratio of the primary is N1 and the turns ratio of secondary is N2. So that is what it is. Now let us build a relation between all these three factors of the transformer. And for an ideal transformer, the primary volt amperes will be equal to the secondary volt amperes, meaning that the input power is equal to the output power for an ideal transformer, assuming there are no losses within or otherwise anyway. So the input power is equal to output power. So E1 into I1 is equal to E2 by I2, but E1 by E2, doing some transformations, we get I2 by I1, that is equal to 1 by K. Again, the current, voltage, and number of turns related to one another in primary and the secondary of a transformer are like this. So we also bring the factor N, that is number of turns of the primary as well as the secondary, into the picture. Then you have the relation like this. So E2 by E1 will be equal to N2 by I1, that is equal to I1 by I2, because when the voltage at the output increases, current decreases, and vice versa. And that's the reason why the current is reverse. So I1 is on the numerator side and then I2 is in the denominator side. That is equal to E2 by E1, so equal to K. So this is the basic principle underlying the operation of all the transformers. So let us look at the summary of the discussion of this session. So we have discussed about the transformation ratio or the turns ratio of the transformer. Then we have actually built up a relation between the voltage, current and the turns ratio of the transformer. Then let us come back for checking our memory in a small quiz. So if N2 is greater than N1 or K is greater than 1, then the transformer is called as dash type of transformer. Step up or step down? It is step up transformer. Then if similarly N2 is less than N1 or K is less than 1, then the transformer is called as what transformer? Whether it is step up or step down? It is a step down transformer, as you can see there. Then suppose if N2 is equal to N1 or K is equal to 1, then the transformer is said to be a equal ratio transformer or a unit ratio transformer. The step up transformer increases. What is it going to increase? The voltage or the current or the power or frequency. A transformer is going to increase the voltage or the current in the step up transformer. It is voltage. So the right answer is choice A, and it is voltage. Let us see the next one. The voltage transformation ratio of a transformer is equal to the ratio of secondary terminal voltage to primary applied voltage. Choice A. Then second induced EMF to primary induced EMF in choice B. Then primary turns to secondary turns. Then secondary current to primary current. What is the right answer? We are talking about voltage transformer ratio is equal to ratio of what? It is nothing but secondary induced EMF to primary induced EMF. Then compared to the secondary of a loaded set step up transformer, the primary has dash voltage and dash current. So we are talking of a loaded step up transformer. So what will it have? The primary will have high voltage or low voltage and the current. So normally when you are talking of a step up transformer, the primary will be having a lower. So choice A is lower higher, choice B is higher lower, then lower lower higher higher. So both C and D are impossible. It has to be either A or B, and we are talking of a step up. So the primary will have a low voltage. So the choice will be A as the right answer. Then let us see a few frequency asked questions in the exams from the topics we have discussed so far. Let us see that. Define the voltage transformation ratio, current ratio and turns ratio of a transformer. Again, another one. Given the relation between the voltage, current and the turns ratio of a transformer. So he is asking us to give a relation between the voltage, current and the turns ratio of a transformer. So with that we'll be concluding this session about the relation between the voltage, current and the turns ratio of a transformer. And thank you very much. Thank you all for being here with me until we close this session. Thanks a lot.